Well, hello and welcome to another movie review from MBE. Today we are going to be talking about 1989's Back to the Future Part 2, John. Before I hand it over to you to guide us through this experience, I would just like to say that this film came 4 years later after the original film. It wasn't intended to have any sequels, the original film, as you know, if you've ever watched any of the documentaries. Bob Zemeckis said that little sort of scene at the end where they're jetting off to 2015, the future, was actually just a sort of in-joke. So we'll get into it anyway, but I'll hand it over to you now, John, and we'll see where this takes us.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, I've just says to really start this review, general chit-chat, thoughts on the movie prior to seeing it. We spoke about this before we actually came on. You says that you actually had a book based on Back to the Future 2, which was a little an accompaniment, if I can even say it right. I can't. An accompaniment. There you go. Yeah. Get my gums out and get that wrapped around it. And obviously it had lots of little jargons and slang words and swear words and in-jokes, which I didn't even know about. What was it, the swear words you mentioned?
Yeah, Maxwell. Yeah.
Maxwell, yeah, that's obviously like X-Files-esque BS, just to get around the swear words and stuff like that. So that's very cool. Yeah. When was that book released, incidentally, Stephen?
I think it was maybe a few months before the film's released, John.
So they were doing it even back then, because it reeks of Star Wars. That's what they do with Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got into maybe about 20 pages of it and I couldn't make out what was going on. It's just one of those things. First time I seen this film, I was 13 at the time, 14 maybe, 1990. I didn't see this cinematically, John. I saw this in VHS from our local Global Video store. And it back then it took over a year for films that were in the theatres to be released on home release. That's just the way it was back then. When you think about it now, it's crazy. But
life was much slower back then, Stephen, in the 1990s and the 1980s. We weren't as frenetic. No. It wasn't an instant gratification society. We've spoke about this before. And you see that in movies. That's why this movie should never be remade. There should never be a Tom Holland version, because it will not transition.
No, and you know, fellow movie burner Kevin, you know, we rented this out on the Friday night and we watched it 4 times before we had to hand it back to the video store on the Sunday. You know, we loved this, absolutely loved it. Funnily enough, that Sunday evening we went and seen Back to the Future Part 3 in the cinema. So
that's beautiful. That is great time. I recall. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that, Stephen. And obviously, I mean, I can't recall the first time I seen this movie. It was so long ago. I was only 1 when it released. It was probably mid-90s I seen it for the first time. So I'd have been about 5 or 6 or something. Yeah. Just a magnificent movie. It really is. Zemeckis and Gale, they just know what they're doing with these movies. Yeah. For me, this could actually eclipse the first one. I think it's actually better than the first one. The first one is outstanding. Captured lightning in a bottle. But this one seems to... I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just the fact that it explores the future instead of the past. There's some exploration of what may have been. Obviously now looking in hindsight, it's not to be, and we knew that it was never to be the likes of hoverboards, but the Pepsi Perfect and stuff like that, which we'll get into. I think that just tips it over the first one for me, just the little things they do. And there's always something about movies that go into the future that tickle the fancy. Stephen, the intro to this movie as well caused a whole lot of consternation, as you did say. 4-year gap between this one and the first one.
And change of actress.
I think you says it was Elizabeth Shue came in to portray Jennifer in Back to the Future 2. Don't know the name of the original actress, but obviously they did the end of the movie where Doc comes back and says, look, you have to come with me to the future, it's your kids that are in trouble. Heavily paraphrasing here. I am not good with quotes. You will understand that if you stick around and watch all of our reviews. But also they had to rework that, and it was a very red-faced sort of stunt double. It wasn't even remotely Christopher Lloyd who was in that DeLorean. Yeah. So for them to come in right away, rework that, it almost sets the tone for what's to come, because they rework a lot of the shots that we loved in the original.
It was good practice for them, John, but you're absolutely right. I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head, but I do know that the original actress that played Jennifer, I think it was personal reasons. Her mother was gravely ill, so she couldn't come back to reprise the role. So getting Elizabeth Shue in, she'd already made a handful of very good films. So, you know, she was a well-known name at this point, household name. You know, great performance. Didn't have a lot to do in the film, you know, but that wig was...
Could you imagine that, Stephen, in today's society? Them taking the female character and then incapacitating her the moment the action's about to start. She already know too much about the future. We have to get her out the way. Leave her in the car or an alleyway. Oh my God, man, they'd be absolutely getting off their nuts on Twitter, social media. They'd be wanting to castrate Zemeckis for what he was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that intro. Obviously, where we're going, we don't need roads. He's putting like junk and pouring juice and stuff like that, or soda as they call it in the States, into the DeLorean. It's banana skins. It's utilising a different kind of power. I bet he wished that he had that kind of power back in the original. He wouldn't have had to have got Marty involved. He could have been off to the Wild West finding love.
Wouldn't have to rely on the lightning strike either, because at this point, the plutonium was redundant. They were using Mr. Fusion. So. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, and obviously your hat ties into that, Stephen McShadley. You're not wearing today. But that was deliberate. Yeah. But Stephen, obviously Biff's watching this whole fracas going on at the start of this movie. He is completely dumbstruck. What is it, the line he says, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, he says a flying DeLorean. What the hell's going on here? One of the things,
that sets the tone.
It does, John, and one of the things, I know we'll get into the score and all that later on, when we're sort of breaking down the technical aspects of film, but I think it's important to mention it just now. The first song, the first film, was very heavy Huey Lewis in the News, which there's nothing wrong with that. I love the song. I like Huey Lewis as well. But it was just a typical 80s sort of, riding on the sort of latest hits kind of thing. A lot of films at that period did that in the mid-80s. This time they were going heavy on the score. We got it in the first one, but it might be me that's wrong here, John, but I always feel that the second film overemphasises the sort of main theme in a good way. We're getting it, it's more at the forefront. That's what happens just after Biff sees the DeLorean, fly off to the future. It just kicks in with that Alan Silvestri score. We get sort of clouds and stuff like that in the sky as the credits are coming up.
There's never enough Alan Silvestri in a movie,
It's not, and it's such a well-known song, as a well-known track, I should say, not a song. And it's just, it comes in at the very end as well when, they're getting things resolved. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, Steve, I love the theme of Back to the Future. It's one of the iconic movie themes, so more's better for me, and that just sets the tone. As I did say, Biff, seeing them going off to the future, he's harboured this in his brain for Lord knows how long. I mean, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, because he does mention it, the old Biff.
Yes, the old Biff mentions it. He's clocked it, he's waited 30 years, he's bided his time, and then he also uses that chance he gets in the future later on in the movie. But Stephen, obviously they do arrive in 2015. I've says in brackets if and only, because it's a distinctly better 2015 than the drab shite 2015 that we ultimately got. No hoverboards, no big towering like jaw type shark coming out of advertisements, but we had that with Cameron, to be fair, and it died in its arse, so it could have happened. But obviously Zemeckis and Cameron have conspired together and get that out of the way with Avatar
as well. I think it was Jaws 14, wasn't it?
Yes.
Directed by Max Spielberg. I
That's
think
probably an in-joke, Stephen.
Well, it is. It's I think it's Steven Spielberg's son. I don't know what age he was at the time. He was obviously a kid at the time, but we never even got a Jaws 4, did we? So
no. Well, it's probably with Zemeckis as well, an in-joke, because he didn't really want to make a sequel for this. And then the studios probably railroaded him. He's got a decent script, better than decent script together, and then he's maybe prodding fun. Also, these studios and the inclination to want to make more and more sequels again and again. There's always little things like that going on in movies, little undercurrents, digs. What a future we get, Stephen, though. Obviously, they do. Doc incapacitates Jennifer, he leaves her behind. Marty gets on the jacket. It's got self-tailoring sleeves. I wish I had that, because I've never can buy a jacket with the right.
It also dries your hair, doesn't it?
Yeah, it dries your hair. It's like a hairdryer built in. And then who couldn't mention, if you're reviewing this movie, those amazing Nike sneakers, they like to call them over in the States, trainers here, the self-tying laces. You can get a pair of them now. It'll probably set you back about £3,500.
It's funny, John, because this was the sort of period in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when the sort of baseball books were coming out, and everyone sort of related them to these things that Marty was wearing. I always remember Reebok had Reebok Pump. Do you remember them? You pressed the little thing on the tongue and it sort of gave you the cushions. That was quite futuristic, wasn't it? Not as futuristic as what Marty was getting, but
I never had them, Stephen.
Self-tying laces. I had a pair of them as well.
Oh, I had the Nike Air Max as well, to be fair, and the old Adidas, or as they call it everywhere else, seemingly Adidas. But yeah, I mean, I had the high-techs with the light-up heels, so I thought I was Martin McFly, but I wasn't, sadly.
And that hat.
The hat is absolutely incredible. I have to buy it, Stephen, and start wearing it on this show and outside. I don't give a shit what people think about me, so I will wear it, not a problem. Holographic sort of hologram hat.
You will not look like Maxwell, John.
No, I will not. I will not look like Martin McFly either, though. Michael J. Fox has won $1 million. But Stephen, obviously this is it's like echoes of the first movie. He's walking around the square. Also, Doc gives him the lowdown of what he has to do. I think his son gets jailed because he gets into the cahoots with Griff and his friends and whatnot. I think they rob a bank, it all goes wrong. He gets framed for it, and that's why they're there. So he has to go and try and save his son.
In the Cafe 80s.
Yes, in the Cafe 80s. One little thing I have with this issue is that it's kind of a flying in the face of all of Doc's advice prior in the first movie. Don't tamper with things, don't see yourself, don't see you muck around with things.
Doc is a funny character in this film, John, for those kind of things. I never understood the urgency at the start of the film. You know, he's got a frigging time
That's
machine.
another one, yeah.
He could leave it a year and still go back at that point in time and sort it out.
And
I don't know what
the day it happens. You could go back a week and lay little foundations, not change the timeline that much, lay foundations in place.
Basically taking them to the point of where the decisions made by Marty Jr.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit of a risk.
To be fair, Stephen, you know why they're doing it though. It's just for suspense and tension and whatnot. It's a race against time. If you were to go a week prior,
it'd be a rubbish film.
It'd be a crap film. So you need to up the stakes. That's what it's all about. It's all about pacing, freneticism and whatnot. Also, as you did say, Cafe 80s, did you say it was?
Cafe 80s.
Cafe 80s.
Funny thing is about this, John, the setup of this, you know, Lou's Cafe from 1955, and they were paying homage to, but they're also paying homage to Lou's aerobic fitness, and combining both of them into the Cafe 80s that had these sort of cycling machines in the cafe. We also get Ronald Reagan sort of Max Headroom type thing going on. And all the sort of 80s memorabilia. You're seeing all the 80s television shows. If you look very carefully, you actually see Taxi is one of the shows which Christopher Lloyd appeared on, and also Family Ties, which Michael J. Fox appeared on.
Was that the one he did prior to Back to the Future when he was very envious of Chris McLaughlin and whatnot?
Yeah.
Stephen, this is a great scene. I mean, he goes in, you're seeing the Pepsi Perfect and whatnot. I get something in my head that there's like dead actors on screens. I don't know if that's even remotely correct. I may be getting that mixed up with something entirely differently, but Pepsi Perfect anyway. And finally I can speak about it. I was just itching at the bit to speak about this in our review of the original Back to the Future. Elijah Wood has a little cameo in this as a little kid playing with the Western, I want to say,
Wild Gunman,
arcade game. And obviously Marty has to go over and teach them how to do it. And then after that, they're not even remotely impressed. They're like, you have to use your hands. What is this shit?
Yeah, it's like a baby's toy, they say,
Yes, and then Griff comes in, the grandson of Biff, looks exactly like Biff. That's something that recurs throughout Back to the Future. Very strong genes, so much so that they all look alike. He comes in, I think he shouts something, I can't recall exactly what he shouts to McFly. And then you see, I've said it in notes here, I don't know if I have said it here, it may be actually later on, because there's another bit with proper Marty, not Marty Jr. There's little echoes of things changing from the original movie. Marty was never an aggressive, he was a cool guy, cocksure, knew how to handle himself. But in this, he seems to have a level of aggression. He doesn't like being called out, getting called chicken. No. And that's something that's different. And you see, it's not all roses.
It's the ripple effect, isn't it, John, from the first movie, you know, after... You know, George laid out Biff in 1955. He's obviously taught his kids not to, you know, take crap from people. You know, stand up for yourself, and that's the ripple effect it's had on Marty at this stage. You're right, and also this is the same sequence, John. It doesn't move away from the Cafe 80s during this scene. You know, Biff and his gang. One of them, Jason Scott Lee, who went on to play, you know, Bruce Lee in The Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. He's one of the cronies as well. But one of the things I like about this is that the way that Michael J. Fox plays Marty Jr. He's playing him like George from 1955, the complete wimp. You know, and the way they set up as well, they actually put different contact lenses in his eyes to give him brown eyes rather than Michael J. Fox's natural blue eyes, so you could tell them apart. But it's that scene, you know, they're pressing him for an answer again about tonight's opportunity. You know, are you going to commit yourself to this? And obviously this is when Marty has to step in and tell him, no, the answer's no, Griff. You know, we're not doing it. And this is when the line of the, you know, what are you McFly? Chicken. You know, and that's the first sort of time you see that. I think it kind of carries on into the third film as well. That sort of. You know, effect, but it's really well set up.
And then also we get the epic chase sequence out of the Cafe 80s into the square, and he's ripping the hoverboard. That's again echoing the first movie. Instead of taking a little cardboard guard off the skateboard. It's the hoverboard. He takes it off. It's pink,
and it's made by Mattel as well.
It shouldn't be cool, but
no,
it is.
I know. I mean, they're famous for making Barbie dolls. Yes. I would want that, and I would even take the pink one. Yes. It's so cool looking.
I would take the pink one, Stephen. It just reeks of the 80s, and even though it is into the 90s, although when it was made, it was probably 1989, in fairness. Yeah. What a sequence this is. Again, uproarious, is that even a word? I think it is. Score from Silvestri. He's going round the square, not as clean a sort of sequence as in the original for Marty, because he does go into the water. He's not aware of the rules.
He can't handle the actual physics of the board either, because there's a bit where he actually flips on a rock, because he can't handle it as much.
He'd struggle. But, he would struggle.
It is, it kind of replicates, but this is the thing about the Back to the Future trilogy. There is scenarios in there that replicate. We talked about that in the first review, didn't we?
Yeah.
About the whole waking up thinking everything's a dream. That's carried on throughout the 3 films. But I like the scene. I think it's great. I think it's just that the pacing of it as well. I don't think it's as good as the first one. There's something about the first one with the skateboard that's just very impressive, the way it's shot. But you're right. He doesn't know the physics of it. He doesn't know those boards don't work in water and that kind of thing. And obviously Griff pulls out the pit bull. This is the powered one. But I've got to say, John, the wire effects in this, that they used in this was so slick. You've got to give them that. And how they made those boards believable. Maybe not the pit bull, that looked very blue screen to me. But
when he's over the water.
But everything else on the wires was fantastic. I remember seeing that in the trailer when it came out, and I was so impressed, and I couldn't wait to see this film just for that.
Stephen, it was absolutely pioneering, this movie. You think back to then, it's ridiculous. You've got no right doing the effects that they were attempting back then. Even the little things they do later on, and the futuristic McFly household.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
But what is it, Griff's little punk friend, I'm going to call him, because that's in line with this sort of jargon from this time. He shouts something to McFly, doesn't he? You have no power, you can't go in the water, you've got no power or something like that. What is it, McFly, you bojo? He calls him a bojo. Boris Johnson. Yeah. Boris Johnson. that's an insult. It does work, to be fair, because he is an absolute bojo. It's just an amazing scene though, fantastic. But obviously it has the desired effect, well, not for Biff and co, but for Marty and obviously his family and Jennifer and whatnot, and the Doc, because I think they go through the glass or something. Something happens and they get arrested.
The clock tower's a sort of facade, isn't it? Yeah. The sort of glass, the mirror effect. They crash through. And obviously that has an effect on the outcome. The newspaper that Doc had presented to Marty, at the start, starts changing. We get to see that later on in the film, that kind of altering as well. But this sets up the next sort of. It's always like one problem after the next. Do you think, right, with that's us, we're happy, we can go home now, but obviously they've put Jennifer in the sort of alleyway. The police have picked up, they think she's had a hell of a facelift, 47, because obviously people's fingerprints don't change over the years. They take obviously Jennifer to the McFly homestead in Hilldale, which is supposed to be one of the sought after areas in the 1980s. It certainly isn't by the time you get to 2015. No. They want to tear this place down, the police say. Nothing but tranks, zip heads and stuff like that. The pattern's brilliant.
So 80s.
And this takes us into obviously the house and some future predictions with technology there, John. One of the things obviously around that sort of dining table was the multiple characters. We've got Michael J. Fox playing his daughter and his son. We've got old Marty coming in. Actually, Michael J. Fox looks better and he's older than the person he's playing at this point. That Vista Glide camera system that they used was the first of its kind. I remember watching the documentary on that. It was so fascinating that it was a sort of camera set up that had all these different lenses positioned. It kind of split the screen so you could see interactions with the same actor all in the one sort of shot.
That's incredible. It's like Lord of the Rings-esque.
Yeah, I mean this was very it was very early on though. It was such a breakthrough for the technical aspects of filmmaking, and obviously, as you said, other films have used this technique ever since.
Absolutely, Stephen. Look, that scene was incredible. I have said in my notes, though, prosthetics are ridiculous, terrible. Really, what were they thinking? I mean, we spoke about this previously.
John, I'm going to stop you there before we actually move on to the McFly. You know, there's a little sort of important factor in this, and it's the Sports Almanac, which we've sort of, I think we should maybe rewind a bit, you know, because Marty and Doc are still in the square. So
they're in the alleyway.
They're still there, so we're just talking about Jennifer here, so we know what we're doing.
Yes, we know what we're doing. Obviously, we'll flip back to that then before we go back to the household. Marty does also see the Sports Almanac in the shop. Yeah. It catches his fancy. He's like, oh yes, I'll take that. Completely ignoring everything that happened in the first movie, like 20 minutes prior. Yeah. Because remember, it ended and then they go in. He has a chase sequence.
That's right, yeah.
It all happens in the space of about a half an hour. Yeah. He's completely forgot everything. Clearly got onset dementia or something. He decides, no, I'll screw timelines and space paradigm or whatever the hell you'd call it.
Yeah, I'll make a few bucks, as he says.
I'll make a few bucks and I'll grab myself this Sports Almanac. Of course, Doc gets wind of it, absolutely goes through him, tells him, what the hell are you doing, essentially? You're going to ruin everything again. I'm going to have to go back and sort all of this out. Yeah. I've got a life as well, Marty. Come on. And Biff, old age Biff in 2015. He's way too old, incidentally. What the hell's that about? I mean, he wouldn't look that bad. Well, maybe it would, but I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. He also overhears the chat about the almanac. He's like, oh yes, I like the sound of that. And I've seen flying cars. I know this is these no-gooders that I've seen leaving that driveway 30 years prior. They're finally here. Now he's got an opportunity to go back and right some wrongs and maybe make a better life for himself. But also it has knock-on consequences for older Biff, as you do see when he comes back. He is worse for wear. Yeah. But also that has wide-ranging ramifications for this movie, Stephen, going forward, because it really does set the tone for the whole second half of the movie, really. Yeah,
this kind of takes us back to the McFly homestead. Yes. So we're back to where we are now. We've done a Billy Corner. We're back round to the main story. So, and this is the opportunity old Biff needs. You know, Doc and Marty have to rescue Jennifer from the homestead, so that leaves the car unattended. He jumps in it, goes back to 1955. It's not explained where he's went at this point, right enough. You know, and top of his cane breaks off, so there's a little clue in there. The receipt from the antique store as well was in the car, so that's your clues for later on, setting it up, so it's quite good. You know, but you're right, you know, old Biff coming back to 2015, struggling. That's actually a cut scene. In the full scene he actually disappears because obviously the events of the future are starting to have that ripple effect.
Yeah, it's not the same as Biff, Obviously he's been done in at some point as well. Is that right?
Probably has, yeah.
So he's a very dislikable guy. He's also got a Trump-esque, but we'll get into that as well. Depending on who's watching this and what side of the political divide they're on, then they may disagree with that. They may think he's the best goddamn thing since sliced bread. Yeah. But obviously, getting back to that sequence, we see another knock-on effect for McFly and Marty, that is, from the what he's done in the first movie, changing things, changing his personality. Again, he's been dared into doing something with his business. I can't recall exactly what it is. And he just can't take no for an answer. No. He's very
kind
impulsive.
Of fraud things going on with... It's Flea. It's Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who's playing Needles.
It's his old friend, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's funny because he's not mentioned in the first film, but apparently they're good friends. Well, they're not that good because Needles actually treats him, it's basically a sting up with the boss, but it's going back to that whole are you chicken, you know, and it you know, Marty just doesn't back down. This has obviously a big sort of ramification on his career. He's lost his job, he's fired. It comes out all those fax machines, you're fired. You know, young Jennifer is leaving at this point and she sees herself, her old self that is. That was another great scene. I felt they did that very well. It must have been the Vista glide they were using once again, you know, for them both to say at the same time, I'm old, I'm young, simultaneously. Young Jennifer obviously faints. Doc grabs her and they get her back into the car. They don't think... The car's back where it was, you know, old Biff's left it where it was, so they're under no, you know, impression that there's any sort of underhanded tricks been happening while they've been doing that, you know, so... They've succeeded, they want to go back to 1985 and that's what they do.
And Stephen, I don't know if it's round about this point or prior to this, or maybe it's at the same time. I'm pretty sure we see shots of old Biff going back to 55, his interactions with young Biff. I don't know if that's correct.
No,
maybe
that's,
talking absolute shit.
That's when they go back. That's when Marty and Doc go back,
And there's lots of things going on. He's telling them, look, you sound like a goddamn fool, let's make like a tree and get out or leave, not get out of here. And he's hitting him in the head with the cane and whatnot.
There's that scene, see when they return to 1985, and they're still in the air, obviously they're flying, There's a great scene, John, and it's so seamless. If you ever go back to watch this, it's amazing. When the car's coming, it's descending back down on the road, and it just comes down from the sky, and it just comes right into Jennifer's driveway.
Yeah.
It's so seamless. But there's a lamppost that uses that's where the split is.
Yeah.
But the way they did it was so perfect,
It's 1917, Stephen. The way they're utilising physical objects to blend the shots, very, very cool. And again, it shows you how groundbreaking this movie was on a technical level. It was just well ahead of our time. Just the things they were doing. I stand by it, Stephen. When I say
a little subtle line as well when they leave Jennifer on the porch and Marty kind of walks away saying, "I don't remember these bars being on the window."
Yeah,
just a little subtle thing like that. And the first time I seen this film, I didn't really pay much attention to it. It wasn't until Marty actually returned to his home, or what he thought was his home, and it turns out there's another family in the house. And at this point, I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I couldn't make out what's happened, because obviously, didn't know what old Biff had did at this part, what he'd been up to, but he obviously did something.
And as we did, he absolutely did, Stephen. And as we were saying prior to coming on, in terms of whose movie this is, which we'll get into later, Marty throughout the whole trilogy, for me, it's never ever about Marty.
No,
the story. We'll get into that again later as well. But the point I'm making is he is almost like the audience's eye into this story. So he's all befuddled, confused, doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's getting battered from pillar to post. I think he sees an older, or not an older, a Strickland, but a more grizzlier, out of work guy who's trying to shoot him because he's on his lawn. So he's getting battered from pillar to post, and so is the audience at the same time. So I always liked that about it, the fact that he was the actual audience's perception into this
what he's
world.
going through, we're all going through.
And also, as you did say, he's kicked out of the house. I think he's rolls into bed and it's a young girl who's lying in the bed. It's like, whoa, get out of there quick. And obviously, it meets, if I can speak, Strickland. I was about to say something totally differently there. And then that's when he realises there's something strange going on here.
Checks the newspaper,
checks the newspaper. It's the same date. Everything should be right, but things are wrong. And then we know, I can't recall where he actually goes and meets Doc at this point.
No, what happens is Doc actually disappears at this point. He did say he'd be back at his lab dismantling the time machine, because obviously he's not aware of the changes either at this point. What happens is Marty goes into the sort of square and he sees the hotel is there, at the clock tower. Which was cleverly done. It's obviously that hotel from Vegas that they've superimposed in the background of the sort of backlot at Universal. And there's actually a cut scene, John. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's Dave McFly's a hobo. I'm glad they did, because it's nothing to do with Mark McClure or anything like that, the actor. It's a terrible scene. It's just he can't act drunk. He just can't do it. It's terrible. It's just when I saw that in the deleted scenes, I was like, oh, thank God they didn't put that in. That's terrible. We get I Can't Drive 55 as well, the song. I'm sure that was in another film not that long ago. I think it might have been Ready Player One.
Probably was,
it might have been. And everything's just, you get Hell's Angels going round the square on their bikes, all the cinema stuff is all seedy stuff and all that, pornography and stuff like that, it's just the way that Biff wants things, and we get to see
into this guy's mentality,
the Biff Tannen Museum. It sounds really good, doesn't it? And it shows you his marriages. I think it's his third marriage, but he was married to Marilyn Monroe and some other famous actress I can't remember. And then obviously third time's a charm. It says in the video it's Lorraine. Obviously he's married. This begs the question: where the hell's George all this time? Now, we'll talk about Crispin Glover thing obviously later on in the review, John, because I think we have to address that and our feelings towards that more in depth. Yeah,
Stephen, obviously we will get into that later on. The guy spoke about this for the last 20 or 30 years. He's held one hell of a grudge. I think he took legal action against him, and he won, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about that,
We'll speak about that at the end of this review, I'm absolutely sure. But also at this point, Marty, as you did say, he stumbled upon the square. There's a big casino and things are distinctly different. It's a sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, some homage to Biff Tannen, essentially. a grotto, is that what you call it, a grotto?
I think it's...
A lot of them in Malta for the Hail Mary.
A grotto, yeah. I think, John, it's... it's basically his mindset. He's created a world that lives in his head, you know, and he's made it real.
Absolutely. And then obviously Marty does go up into the casino. He meets his mother in 1985. She's very different. I think he actually says that. We'll not speak about that again. More terrible prosthetics in here.
Yeah.
And she starts to unravel what is going on in this world, and then he realises, look, shit, things have been changed.
Yeah.
We don't know where they've been changed, but things are different. Biff comes in at some point, and he's
You're supposed to be in Switzerland, you little son of a bitch. Yeah. What a line.
He really is just a fantastic actor, isn't he, Stephen? There's something about the character, even though he's a shithead. He is there's something likeable about the guy. I don't know what it is.
There's a comedic tone to it, John. You know, you can't take it too serious. You know,
the whole movie's like that. It's not to be taken seriously.
But you're right. I mean, there's obviously sort of foreshadowing there of Donald Trump. You know, a lot of people have said that. You know, whether it be the hairdo or whatever. You know, just the sort of
the terrible suits,
the mannerisms of him. You know, but I mean, it's just that coming in. You know, and ruling the roost, and you are thinking, very much as you said, like Marty as the audience, you know, you're like, why is Lorraine married to Biff all of a sudden? You know, where's George? You know, and you're asking these questions. That's what's going through Marty's head. Obviously, he asks Lorraine, you know, where is George? You know, and she says, you know, he's been in the same place he's been since, you know, 12 years or whatever's passed, you know.
Is it Doc that reveals what's happened, and he tells him, he goes obviously and visits the gravestone?
She says Oak Park Cemetery, so he goes off, and basically this is when he meets up with Doc again, you know, and there's the tombstone, George Douglas McFly, you know, died in 1973, so that is 12 years from 1985, and this is when they go back, and you know, we get that infamous sort of timeline explanation from Doc on the blackboard. We get to see Einstein as well, you know, his dog, but it's the way it's explained. You know, Doc went into the library to get all the history he could on the events between you know, 1950s right up to you know, the present day, and you know, he does notice that you know, Biff, I think he won his first bet when he turned 21 or something like that, and there's an interesting photograph where he's actually got the almanac in his pocket. You know, what Marty's got to do is obviously you know, find out exactly when old Biff went back, what was the date, and it is funny, you know, it's shoehorning a bit, but you know, having that exact date, November 12th, 1955, the day of the Great Hill Valley lightning storm, and it was also the same day that Biff, you know, drove into the manure truck. You know, that Biff was kind of taken aback when Marty knew about that. But I mean, it's really just that he has to have that confrontation with Biff. You know, he has to ask him exactly when did you get the book, etc., etc. It's interesting as well, which we find out later on, that the old Biff actually warns young Biff, if a crazy old wild scientist ever comes with a kid, you know, asking out a book, basically you're going to have to kill them. Yeah,
because he's playing nicey nice. He's almost as if he's going to give the information to him. Then he reveals, like, I was warned, and then that's when he turns full cycle Trump-esque Biff, when he's brandishing guns and whatnot, and try to kill him. I think he falls off a roof or something onto the DeLorean. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, it's a good scene.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's a good scene, you know. It's the cronies chase Marty up the stairwell, isn't it?
But you see, again, Stephen, that dark side of Biff. I mean, even though there is likeable traits and it isn't to be taken serious, the guy tried to rape Lorraine in the first movie, and then he's trying to kill Marty, and he did kill George, so he is a bit of a shithead.
Marty asked him that. He does say, you know, they're going to, you know, what about the police, Biff? They're going to match up that, you know, gun with the bullet, and he comes out and says, kid, I own the police. Besides, they couldn't match up the bullet that killed your own man. Yeah, you know, it's the same gun that's killed him. You know, absolutely. So poetic justice. He says, 2 McFlys with the same gun. That's when Marty jumps off the edge. Yep. I love that scene. You know, it's just the way the wing door of the DeLorean opens up and absolutely belts Biff. Yeah. He gets some knocks in this trilogy, doesn't he? When you think about it, absolutely. You know, and it's a great scene because you think at first Marty's jumped. You know, he'd rather jump. He'd rather take his own life than have a tannin take his life for him. You know, and it's just a great scene. You know, and the Alan Silvestri music kicks in once again. You're not going to believe this, Doc. We're going to have to get back to 1955. You know, and it's great. It's just a great setup. You know, there's that urgency again. I mean, there's no great hurry. I mean, they obviously want to fix things as soon as possible. I get that, but
I think into the future.
It's one of the things about the film, John, that's great pacing to it. You know, there's not too many breathers in this film. It just moves on and moves on.
It really does, Stephen. It's perfectly, and it's sort of freneticism. There is quieter moments where it's required, but for the most part, it's just balls to the wall action, and it's really quickly paced. It's an enjoyable film for that. That's why there's something about them. When it comes on the TV or whatnot, you are drawn to it and watch it again and again and again, because it's magnetic, the pacing, the characters, the world, the creation of it. Stephen, obviously they do go back to 1955, and we get one of my favourite scenes.
John, this is a lot of people's favourite sort of section of this film, is going back to 1955. Obviously for the different sort of perspectives of what we already saw in the first film. Just the recreation of that, it was, I kind of knew about the Crispin Glover stuff before this film came out. I wasn't easily fooled to think that he was in this film, but I was aware of it. So when it came to the 1955 stuff, I was very interested to see how they were going to handle this.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. We have that. They go to the dance and he's trying to get the almanac off of Biff.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting thwarted. I think he's locked in his trunk at one point.
Yeah, he's in his garage as well, isn't he,
earlier
on that day?
Yeah, it's his grandma's garage, and we get to see a side of Biff that he's not this big butch bravado guy. He is a bit of a not a mummy's boy, a granny's boy.
Yeah.
But he's walking down the street as well with the kids playing the football. I love that as well. He's got the shirt. He is a cool looking dude. He's got the shirt on. I think the cigarettes in. You want your ball back? Yeah, go and get it. Flings the ball up onto the roof.
Yeah.
Gives me obviously mental flashbacks to a certain individual that I know of very well. He reeks of Biff, let's be honest. But obviously it all has a part. At this point I do believe old Biff is interfering. We get to see, is that correct? I can't recall, but there's a point where old Biff's involved anyway. We've already spoke about that. Doesn't really matter.
It's really good, John, when Marty and Doc arrive in 55, because they're at the Lions Estates sort of billboard thing again, and Doc's got to explain to Marty, there's now two of me here and two of you, and you get that through this whole sort of section now where Marty's got to be in disguise, he's got to lay low, he's got to get the book, so it's a bit of a problem there, a bit of... and
how many DeLoreans?
Well, this was the thing, we talked about this, didn't we? I think it was even before we did the first review, it really depends on how you view time travel and how timelines and things like that work, the sort of threads of time and stuff like that. But, my opinion is there is 4 at this stage. There's obviously the one from the first film, which is in, at this point, it's in Doc's garage under the sort of canvas. You've then got the Marty and Doc from this film who've had to travel to 1955. That's 2. You've got the one old Biff used, obviously, to get to 1955.
In the cave.
And then the one in the mine,
Yeah, it is. It's 4. And that's another little thing. It makes you think when you go back and you process this movie. There's little things like that just keep you interested, and then you start wanting you back and watch them again. So again, it's brilliance from Zemeckis and whatnot. But Stephen, I mean, they were doing Endgame before Endgame done. Endgame with the multi-perspectives from different angles. Absolutely wonderful. There's so much going on. He's trying to get the almanac. You're seeing George, as you did say, terribly swinging for Biff. It doesn't even remotely match the punch that we've seen from Crispin Glover in the first movie.
No.
But really, really cool. I love it when they do that. And it must have been so hard to recreate all of these scenes, getting the angles and...
Getting the actors back
getting the actors and the timing and things just right. With a 4-year gap.
Yeah, and there was little things, John. There was obviously little things like extras and stuff like that looked completely different. The blonde woman in the second one had brown hair and stuff like that. When Marty has to run back to the dance, he has to break up the couple after George knocks out Biff.
Yeah.
Things like that you pick up on, but it's not really important to the story. It's not something that's going to ruin the scene or anything like that. You know what? It's funny because I always look out when I watch the first film and you see the crowd gathering round Biff after George knocks him out. I'm always looking for that guy. I think he took his wallet, but he's not there obviously because that actor's not in that film, But it's just one of those things that I look out for.
That's probably testament, Stephen, to how well done the actual scenes, the recreation of them are, that you're actually looking out for it. So it's pretty damn well executed. Obviously, I think he does get. Boy, I know he gets it. He gets the almanac. And that takes us on to that great tunnel sequence. If I'm not missing anything major,
you're only missing out really what we saw in the first film, the dance. Johnny Be Good. It was great seeing those things from different perspectives. John, you're right. You get to see. I was about to say Griff. You're about to see Biff's gang spiking the punch and stuff like that. Things you didn't see in the first film. Funny things. Strickland kind of staring over at them. Marty tried to get the book Ooh La La off Strickland. you know, it's just great to see these scenes from different angles and the timelines as well. Someone's actually went to the trouble of actually, you know, piecing the timelines together from the first film and the second film and getting all it paired up perfectly. Now, I don't know if there was any edits to sort of make it more in sync. I'm not really sure, but I would, you know, I was about to say knowing Bob Zemeckis, I don't know him, but just how...
But you know what the guy's like.
Yeah, you know, he's a stickler for, you know, obviously, you know...
Small details.
And precision. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was right to the second. But, yeah, I mean, it's great. You know, apart from that, John, you're right. You know, this is the whole, you know, thing to get the book back, you know, the tunnel scene. You know, the almanac kind of changes hands a few times during the 50s, you know. It goes to, you know... Biff, it goes back to Marty, it goes back to Biff, and then it's with Strickland. Biff, and obviously, and Strickland, he's got Ula Laro, he's not got the almanac, but you know, the tunnel scene as well is great, and it shows the sort of mentality of Biff once more, that he's prepared to run this guy down. Yeah,
and also we see that he has mastered the hoverboard to some degree.
Yeah,
because he is able to do a cool little manoeuvre over the
that
car.
Was cool. Yeah, I liked that. Yeah,
and then obviously he hits Manure again, doesn't he? He does. He strikes Manure outside the tunnel once again. There's something about Manure and pure Biff.
It's the same guy as well. I can't remember his name.
Absolute travesty. The guy just
Jones, I think it is. It's something Jones or something like that.
He just cannot miss the Manure. It's something about Manure and poor Biff. What a shame. But
he's a shit.
Yeah, well, he's a shit anyway, so it works. And then obviously we have the dangling. I want to see the little dangling thing from the DeLorean. He thinks it's going to be happily ever after. Poor old Doc gets...
the bunting,
the bunting.
Yeah.
He gets zapped with a lightning strike, I want to say.
John, it's one of the things I like. This is then back at, obviously, the Lions Estates sort of scene again, you know, and the tension's building, you know, Marty's burning the book. That's changing the history. We're getting to see it in the papers. George McFly, deceased, becomes George McFly honoured.
Yeah.
Doc as well, who was committed, you know, in one of the newspapers, he's commended.
Yeah, that was,
you know, it's just
the alternate
great.
85. He was
and obviously
the
you know, the matchbook as well. Biff's auto detailing, you know, changes back to it. Changes from Biff's Pleasure Paradise or whatever that was called, that hotel, to the auto detailing. So it's little things like that that show that they don't have to get into great explanations. Just show some, you know, technical wizardry. You know, the newspapers changing shows that the timelines are resetting themselves to what they should be. And Alan Silvestri's music's playing all throughout this, you know, and Doc's still in the air. He's got the bunting still attached to the wheels of the car, you know, and the lightning's starting to build, because this is obviously the night of the Hill Valley lightning storm, so it ties in perfectly. And I remember seeing this for the first time, John. Doc getting zapped, and there's a kind of, I think it's like a 99 or something like that. It's kind of the flames. And I remember thinking, this is near the end of the film, you know, and I think, please, God, don't make this a cliffhanger, because I can't wait. This is one of the reasons we went to see the part 3, but I don't want to wait another year to see what happens here and where Doc is. Doc dead, you know, obviously, once he's away, there's that Hollywood rain again, John, coming into action.
Fantastic scene, it really is. Stephen, what you actually touched upon previously, though, about the little exposition and visual elements, the cues, the things changing, that's something that just about 80s movies as well. You've seen it in the original Star Wars, just that ability to tell you so much in such a condensed manner, and it doesn't bog the movie down, it doesn't destroy the tone or the pacing of the movie, it just keeps things ticking along, as we did say, highly frenetic, this movie, and that's just something that seems to be been lost in recent times. They want to explain everything down. I don't know if they think audience members are stupid now, they're dumber than what they used to be, but certainly back then you had a bit more about us clearly, and we could just give us a little short scene of things changing. That was it. We understood that things had changed back happily ever after, until of course Doc gets zapped out. And as you did say, the incredible rain scene, it's a Western Union courier comes along, an old guy and his wife, I want to say.
No, it's just the guy. Yeah,
and then it's the old guy.
I'm trying to remember, Joe Flanagan or something. I can't remember his name, John.
Yeah,
he was a guy. It was in Happy Gilmore that Shooter McGavin was paying off to try and
he's a weird looking guy.
Try and knock down. It's the voice, though, John. It's just got a unique voice. You know, I think he's a stand-up, if I'm not mistaken. But there's just something about him. Western Union, you know, guys at the office had this bet that this Marty wouldn't show up on this precise night at this precise time, and you're starting to think, what is the hell's going on in this film? You know, if they jumped the shark here, what's going on?
That envelope, though.
In the pouring rain, it's a 70-year-old. What are you doing, Marty? You're getting it soaked.
Marty, you're having a mare in this movie. You really are. You're buying almanacs.
Yeah.
You're just destroying timelines left, right and centre. Then you're not opening the goddamn envelope. What are you doing? And then finally he opens it up and it's revealed that good old Doc is not been killed. He's just been sent back to another time, a bygone era.
Yeah.
And as we did speak about, obviously he always wanted to get back to the country and western, the Western Times, country and western.
Union, yeah.
There may have been country and western back then. It's always at this time with reviews when I start going down rabbit holes. Have you noticed that? And he wanted to explore the other great mysteries of life or whatever, women. So that all ties in beautifully.
Yeah.
And it's revealed. I also never had that issue back in the day when I actually watched it for the first time. They were all out.
What I like, John, in this scene as well is, again, it's a score building up. You know, it's the main theme building up. You know, and Marty realises he's in the Old West. Doc's in the Old West. The Western Union guy says, "Son, is there anything I can do to help you?" And he says, "There's only one guy that can help me." And it cuts to the clock tower scene again. We get to see that scene again. Marty getting back to 1985. Doc giving it a yoo-hoo in the middle of the street. Dancing. And you think everything's worked out well. And then we see Marty running around the corner. I always remember that scene, and that for some reason I always miss the cut. I always think, how did they do that? But there is a cut scene, John. But there's a cut scene in the original film for Doc to look up to the clock tower at the very end.
It's almost seamless.
It's almost seamless. And it's funny, every time you watch the original film, you expect Marty to come round that corner, which he obviously doesn't because it's not happened yet.
But it does, just a little bit after, and you don't get to see it because it's just continually looping itself. Steve, that's one of my favourite moments in the movie when he's dancing down, he comes round the corner, obviously sees him again, he faints, he's like, oh my god, you.
To be concluded, it says at the very end, John, not to be continued. If you thought the first film had a good cliffhanger, which was an unintentional cliffhanger, it was a joke, this one had a zinger. Thankfully, what they did though was they gave you a little preview of Back to the Future 3, Marty arriving in Hill Valley 1885 and getting to meet up with Doc and that, because obviously a year had passed since this film's release to the third part, and it was a nice little thing to give the audience, just listen, third part's going to be coming along, don't worry about anything, it's all going to work out, you know. But it was a great film, John. Just getting back to what you were saying in regards to it being better than the first one, I probably don't agree with that. I think just maybe because I was obviously, I'm a lot older than you, John, so I was around when the first film came out, and it holds so many memories for me and my gran, spending time with my gran watching this film. Second one, not so much, you know. That 4-year sort of anticipation for the first film, for the second film, clearly was there. I was so excited for this film. I remember seeing the adverts on the bus stops and stuff like that, the posters, and I couldn't wait. And I loved the way that poster portrayed. It was paying homage to the first poster, you know, with Marty, you know, in the sunglasses, stepping outside the DeLorean with the, you know, the flames, the trails. This had Marty and Doc with the futuristic clothes on, and it was exactly the same pose. Yeah, the posters are incredible. It's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, it's the same shot. They're always hanging out the door. It's absolutely fantastic. There's something about that as well. Just again, that time period, the promotional stuff. Yeah, it's better now. It's just everything was better back then. Let's be honest. It's just crap now, isn't it? Really, we've got pandemics. It's just shit. Yeah, wish I could get back to the 1980s. And then when I got there, I would completely change my mind. I'd want to come back when it comes to the pandemics. Yeah, and then I'd be dead. So I take that back immediately, Stephen. Really. Stephen, cinematography, score, technical chat. I think we've done it to death. Really, we don't have to really speak about that in great depth. No. There's lots of amazing cuts. It was really well shot. You spoke about the multi-lens stuff going on. Yeah. Making those multi-character, single actor performances. Yeah, Vista Glide, really well done. The score's amazing. It's Alan Silvestri. Guy is one of the best in the business. Technically, just a superb movie. So slick, pioneering. Final thoughts on the movie. Was Crispin Writer says, was that a terrible performance from the stand-in prosthetic guy? And just the film's legacy. We've done that. You've spoke about the legacy. I think if we touch on the Crispin Glover stuff, you know, John, he was such an amazing character, you know, George McFly in the first film. You know, in the first film was all about George, you know. Never did that conversation either. What is this film? Whose movie is this? We'll need to do that as well. Yeah, we'll do that as well, but you know, it was missed in this film, let's be honest, you know. But the film wasn't about him. You know, the whole situation between him and the producers, which I don't really want to get into because we don't know the ins and outs of this. We know Crispin Glover's version, we know Bob Gale's version of you know, how they couldn't come to an agreement, you know, for him to appear in this film. The only sort of losers in this is the fans. You know, wanted to see more of Crispin, but what it did was force the producer's hand, who incidentally is the writer of the film as well, Bob Gale, to write, you know, the version we got, you know, which I like. I do like it, you know. In regards to the performance of the guy that stood in, he was a stand-up comedian. I can't remember his name. He's basically wearing the prosthetics of Crispin Glover's prosthetics, that, you know, the cast that was created for him to have the prosthetics for the 1985 George. There's something obvious about it's not Crispin Glover. You know, I don't think Crispin Glover's got anything to worry about the performance of this. I can't understand people that can't see that that's not him. I don't know if it's just you, John, or you know, just me, but I can't see. No,
it's definitely not him.
You know, the line delivery and everything's just off. You know, it doesn't bother me that it ruins the film or anything like that, but the whole "Are you okay?" to Lorraine didn't sound like the first one. The punch didn't look like the punch in the first one, and
that other line as well about golf or something.
He's upside down. Yeah. Put my back out in the golf course again. I'm like, don't really understand what that's all about. You stuck him upside down, you know, because he looks terrible. But John, again, it's the prosthetics that time, you know, that period. You know, you look at people that are aged now. They use the sort of digital technology. If it's like you know, Peggy Carter and you know, the Captain America films, or you know, Captain America and Endgame. They didn't do that then. They put prosthetics on, which made their heads look massive.
Yeah, it's like the old zombie movies.
Yeah, you know, because you're putting basically skin on skin, you know, and to age. So I wouldn't hold that against them. It's more performance. I think that's what bothers Crispin Glover. He'll not go and promote the other two films. He said if the film was a standalone, the first Back to the Future film, 1985, he'd be out there promoting it, you know. But obviously, a lot's happened as well. They used a lot of the sort of scenes from the first one, audio as well from the first one, which he then had to go to, you know, a lawsuit to get that changed, and it did change. You know, he won it. You know, it changed a lot of things that they were doing in Hollywood that they shouldn't have been doing. It's not like signing your likeness away, which has been around a lot longer than Back to the Future, you know, as far back as Star Wars. You know, I remember Carrie Fisher making a joke about, you know, she can't look in the mirror without having to give George Lucas money because she sold her likeness to, you know, Lucasfilm. And so that's always been around. Obviously that agreement wasn't in place for the Back to the Future cast, you know, or, you know, Crispin Glover wouldn't have been able to pursue that lawsuit.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I can't add much more about the whole Crispin Glover thing. I think you've hit the nail on the head, really. You can see from both sides they had a movie to do.
That's that,
They had to keep that continuity to some level, so they had to use some form of prosthetic.
Interestingly, John, they were going to go down the road of setting the Back to the Future 2 in the 1960s with Crispin Glover or George McFly looking like John Lennon from the late 60s, having the long hair and the glasses.
That would have been amazing.
It would have been good, John, but I like the way it turned out. I've got to be honest with you. You know, the film was more driven towards the focus on Biff this time. You're right. You know, you want to talk about that now. I would probably talk about it now.
It's definitely Biff's movie. Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. The first movie was all about George, and then it was this movie was firmly about Biff, and the third movie, which we'll probably review at some point as well, was all about Doc. So they've all got their distinct, and then Marty is the audience's eye into the movie. So there's something about that. It flows beautifully. I don't know why, but it does. He's the enabler for all of these characters to have their moments in these movies, because he's going back in time and altering things and whatnot. But yeah, definitely, I would have loved that, the 60s version. But ultimately, I like what I got as well. As I did say, it's probably my favourite Back to the Future movie, just by a hair's breadth, because there's just something about the feel of it. It's just, I love it. But I do love Crispin Glover, and I love his performance as George McFly as well. But you wouldn't have had this version if Crispin had come back. And you can't really blame the guy who stood in. It's a shame for him. He's getting absolutely destroyed and told it's a terrible for performance. He probably doesn't even see himself as an actor. As you did say, stand-up comedian.
It's an impersonation, isn't it? He's not doing a performance. He's doing an impersonation, John. I think that's what bothers Crispin Glover more than anything. Yeah,
I mean, Stephen, ultimately though, I mean, if you get anything else to add on the legacy of this movie, I think it's just one of the best movies of this ilk ever made, really.
Yeah, John.
I mean, it's one of the all-time great trilogies.
It was a
to have a good trilogy, you need to have a good middle arc.
It was a huge risk on Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale's part. You know, they had such a successful time with that first film. If they were going to plan it, and do a George Lucas and plan out sequels for further down the line, they probably wouldn't have done what they did at the end of the first film.
Yeah.
But I think they handled it well. They didn't take it too serious. Zemeckis says, he hates doing films that are, have future settings because you can never predict what the future is going to be. So instead of taking it that serious, they put a comedy spin on it.
Yeah.
And listen, some of the Cubs, the baseball, that kind of things, Miami, having a team, that kind of thing, and all the sort of inventions as well. Some of them didn't come true. The ones that I wanted to come true didn't.
Yeah, the pizza and the hoverboard. Yeah. I wish I had those little mini pizzas that blowed up into the full blown ones. But look, I made a pizza the night, deep pan, and I made it well, so I can do it. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. But I want that hoverboard. So please, we've had Pepsi Perfect. Give us a hoverboard and flying cars. Thank you. But look, Stephen, I'm done. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're done. That's going to round up our review for Back to the Future 2, one of the all-time great movies. Just as a whole, is that your thoughts though? Do you agree, disagree? Do you love this movie, hate this movie?
Are you a Maxwell?
Yeah, are you a Maxwell? Well, if you hate it, you're a Maxwell. So there you go, that's my view. But you can share your view down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can dislike it if you've hated it. You can also subscribe to the channel if you're liking content like this and you want to see more. And if you do, then you will see us again tomorrow for another movie review. We don't know what it is yet, but we will tomorrow.